call me Joy, Maria. Don't call me all my 5 names, please. Or I will call the tape. I want to introduce, before I continue, Chris.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Bankston. I'm the middle school manager for all of our middle schools in CGCS around ESOL curriculum. So that's about 25 schools for us, and a handful of elementary schools as well in one of our clusters.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now, I would be remiss if I don't say this. It is May, and it is ANHPI, Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month. So please, 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 if you are AAPI, if that's your affinity, please stand up. Dr. Lee, where are you? Oh, Shakira. I want to recognize you all. Thank you so much. Dr. Lee, I just mentioned you, Shakira, not Beyonce. Okay, Shira. I just said AAPI because we are always the invisible ones, right? Just like our kids. Sometimes they're like, don't worry too much about AAPI. They are acing their math. Really? Not all of them. So just wanted to say it's AAPI Heritage Month. Thank you for being here. I saw a lot. Awesome. But also, before I continue with what I'm tasked to do, I would like to acknowledge that we are currently standing in the lands of the Dakota people, okay? These are, I don't want to butcher this. I researched it and I actually looked at YouTube of a shaman who's actually pronouncing this. Hopefully I'm not going to butcher this. Metawakanton Sioux and Shakopee. They are the Dakota Oyari, the original stewards of the magnificent land of vibrant waterways of Minneapolis. So let's not forget, we are standing on their grounds. And if you notice, why am I standing up? Because Chris is so tall. Well, we're almost the same height. Don't stand up! Just kidding. No, just don't tell them why I'm scared when you stand up. So yeah, it's okay for you to sit down. Sorry. All right, so today we will share an approach to prepare and support teachers to scaffold math instruction for multilingual learners within Tier 1, 2, and 3 settings. The approach ensures that math lessons for multilingual learners include intentional scaffolding without diluting the content. How many of you here have heard your teacher say, I don't do math, I'm scared of math. I'm not a math person, don't make me do that. I teach ESOL, I don't teach math. How many of you heard that? But we all are math teachers. In our district, we are mathers. For some reason, I don't know who coined that term, but we are mathers. So, just to give you a quick, now I can sit down a little bit. We have 117 schools in the District of Columbia. There we go. And then we have about 52,000 students. This always changes every day if the charter schools don't steal our students. We have about 8,699 MLs. Some of them are potentially 93, newcomers 1634, and monitoring 510. Sorry, I need to stand up. So, when we all present in many other different settings, our chancellor would always want us to talk about equity. I'm not going to read this to you, but I need like a popcorn of words that stand out to you in terms of equity. Let's go.
Access.
Yes. What else?
Opportunity gap.
Yep.
Remove barriers.
Yes.
Bias.
Yes, one more.
Interaction.
Thank you. All right, so today I am going to talk to you, we are going to talk to you about specific types of scaffolds. And let me just reiterate this. Some of these scaffolds are not new. But I am just excited, we are just excited to show you how we're using them in DC Public Schools. In our district, we are using illustrative math. Raise your hand if you're using illustrative math. They didn't pay me to say this, by the way. but it is something that's like SOR, illustrative math, has been going around the country and promising to teach our kids, to do math. And so, but guess what? Our multilingual learners cannot really access them, and so we have to do something in order for us, I'm gonna skip some of these, in order for our kids to actually access math, right? So, let me tell you first the impetus before I talk to you with all of these. During the pandemic, and you just have to remind me how much time I have. During the pandemic, as you all know, our kids are all at home. We were all at home. No one's progress monitoring anything. The kids cannot test. They cannot go to schools to test what to do. In DC, we are accountable. The mayor is always like, you have to show me progress monitoring. That's not our voice. I'm just giving the big voice of the mayor. And so what I'm trying to say is, we had to do something, and we created required curricular tasks. So I am gonna move forward on that one later, but let me show you this. Required curricular tasks are for some of you from the Minneapolis School District from yesterday. You talked about formative assessments, right? These are our formative assessments, but these were not teacher created. These are central base created. It was created for all content areas. And I'm just gonna show, hopefully it will take me there. I know I'm presenting on math, but I just want to give you an example how we scaffolded for other content areas. Now, can you all see the original prompt? I need a loud voice without a mic who can read to me, please. What's the original prompt? This is history, 7th grade. Yes, ma'am.
Students create a visual timeline of 8 key events summarizing the millennia-long process of humans transitioning from nomadic hunting and gathering to agriculture and civilization building.
Boom. That's the original prompt. Doesn't matter if you're a newcomer. That's your original prompt. That's why we needed to do something. So look at what you have there. What do you think we added? What scaffolds did we add? Let's go. Pictures. What else? We chunked the text. What else? Sentence starters. All right, so then, this is what we call supplemental material. So all of our students take all of the required curricular tasks on a platform called Mastery Connect. But, so even our newcomers take it on Mastery Connect. However, these get printed out for our newcomers. So then, even though there's like a very intimidating original prompt, they can access using visuals, sentence stems, and chunking. Now, how do I go back to this? Oh, there it is. Now, I promise you Chris will talk. So, 3 important type of scaffolds. Clarification of academic vocabulary, clear directions and questions, provide context and clarity for a reading task. I don't need to tell you exactly what those are. You can see, which I will show you how it looks, what it looks like. Clear formatting, familiar and culturally relevant examples and contents, supports for written responses, speech to text tools, and space for planning. This is an example of a word bank. When you think of polynomials and trinomials and perimeter, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to talk? How am I going to show this to my newcomers? Well, at least you have these kinds of word bank. Now let me tell you, so where do all of these live? So what we did, so these are required curricular tasks, but this are also the same thing that we did for our math curriculum. So every single, from 6th grade to 12th grade, there are lesson units, and we will show, Chris and I will show you that in a few minutes. The content area teacher will teach the particular lesson, and embedded in the scope and sequence guide is a link to the PowerPoint that my team and I had created that has all of these scaffolds. Long story short, we made it easier for all of our math content teachers to then not spend 2 hours of their time finding all of these visuals and finding all of these sentence stems. All they need to do is click, and then voila, all of the kids, not only MLs, but also special needs, and all the other regular kids can benefit from. This is another one, diagram and sentence stems. This is, so other than Spanish is the highest, language that, number of students that speak Spanish. Number 2 is Amharic, so we provide that too. This is another example where we have more visuals, more charts, and everything else. Now, Chris will talk to you a little. Chris is our middle school guru. So he's going to talk to you about I Am Scaffolds for grade 6.
Thank you. So when we were developing these about a summer ago, this has all been within the last 12 months, there were a couple of challenges, as you may have imagined, in designing this. And the first one was actually finding ESOL teachers who understood the content well enough to be able to construct the scaffolds in a way that made sense to everybody. And also starting to reach out and collaborate, which is a word that we've heard over the last few days. Math instructional coaches, math content expertise, to do the quality control as they built out these scaffolded and differentiated materials. So that they could say, like, this is exactly what we need, and these are the things that are not okay with it, and we need you to fix it. But then also, because we had 30 days to do this, we didn't have time to develop every single unit, so we had to prioritize which of these units was the most useful for getting like big concepts across to teachers and students. And once that was developed, we then had what we see on the screen here, which is like very select units. Not everyone, and of course there were teachers who were complaining about that, but at the same time, this was a starting point for teachers to start understanding how to model and do this on their own. So it's kind of a reach one, teach one situation. And I just was gonna say, also, we were blessed to have a teacher who understood that you don't stay at the same level of Bloom's taxonomy throughout the whole all these units. You're building up towards something where the students can explain more and show their understanding of the ways that we've talked about with our science presentations and other sessions.
And I just wanted to say also, just like what he said, we started this work, but we are not done. In fact, we just budgeted for this summer more work on this, because there are a lot of units, and so we gotta focus, and it's from 6 to 12. All right, Chris?
Yep.
All right, this is a original prompt.
All right, so what you're seeing on the screen is what illustrated math would be putting in front of students. And these, mind you, these are those thick workbooks that some teachers are not even managing to like make copies of. They just put them in front of the kids. They're expected to look at this and understand it. I want you to take a look at this, and this is what they're expected to read. Now, Dr. A, can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
I'm sorry, there was another one. I'm sorry, there were questions. There are questions also that the teacher is given to prompt student understanding and be a facilitator. That's it, thank you. I want you to just for the next 30 seconds, think about how would you differentiate this for a newcomer, or a level 2, or a level 3 student in a class that this is being presented.
It starts now.
Yeah, so I want to give people wait time. I want to respect the introverts and extroverts in the room.
Yes.
Extroverts always, like, no, just write it down. Please, for my sake, write it down.
Yeah.
And every other introvert in the room. Now, go ahead and turn to the people around you, a person to your left or right, and explain to them what you think would make a better modified or differentiated product so that all students can understand this. And when you can also include students with disabilities in that description too, because we do have duly identified students in these classes. Take the next minute to talk, and then we'll give you a signal to come back together. Go.
All right, Chris. Picture, I mean, like.
I know. Weird. That's how they get. That's how it's taxed.
Virtual reality, something to like. I think I would also want to have like, what's the, it's not a bad math skill, but not the equation, but like what is the, like how do you calculate? I just want to do that, it's just like, oh, never mind.
about 20 more seconds to finish your thoughts and add on.
I'm just like,
So you're not a math.
not a math.
Got it.
We had like the math conference, and you would give us a why you use wine to like not the ones who committed to me wine.
All right, let's come back together in 3,
Maths.
finishing our conversations in 2, and 1. All right. Instead of just calling on people, I know we don't have probably enough mics to go out to the audience just yet. Let's just go ahead and popcorn out some of your solutions about how you would solve this situation with modifications or access.
This is 6th grade.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about how it might be a good idea to do the, thank you. We talked about how it might be a good idea to do the 3rd bullet first through like a process model checklist. So like having the process of solving the problems in a checklist with visuals for students, then having them compare and contrast which one is easier versus harder, and maybe just saying easier and harder instead of having all of the different clauses and confusing language. And then that last one we didn't really get to talk about, and it's awfully different than the others, so we didn't process through that one quite yet. But those were some initial thoughts.
Thank you, that was awesome.
2 more people, if you have anybody else.
How about having the pictures of the triangles next to the instructions while I'm working?
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
One more. Over there.
We were talking about actually having them walk through the steps that they took to find the height for each triangle, because that gets you to the information of this one was easier, this one was harder. We had to extend the line of the base for that one. And also, you know, number 3, where you're trying to figure out how is it different, because you can see the steps side by side.
Thank you. So now we're going to show you what we actually came up with, which to I think a lot of you already hit on, because great minds think alike.
So remember, from this very convoluted text was chunked, spaced out, and we added some sentence stems in there. And of course, I love the additions of the more visual pieces. Okay, Chris, we'll continue.
Yep.
Algebra. So you guys will be like, I don't know anything about algebra. Why are you teaching me about algebra today? We're not content algebra folks. We're just validating how you would scaffold. This is the original prompt. Can you imagine? Now, we also need to be very careful when we try to modify. Well, it's not super watered down, because we also need to make sure that our students grapple with the content, with the idea, right? It needs to be intentional. So I know that I don't have enough time. So modified, original, modified, right? Is it doable? Still part of that. Do you see how busy that is? And then this is the first part, and this is the second part. You all agree? Perfect. Now, if we were all together in one room where all of your computers are turned on, we would say, let's go to Padlet and let's start scaffolding. But also Gabrielle has given me the look that I'm over time. So, questions? Thank you all so much. That's what we have for you. And we will let you know, and we are willing to share